Welcome to 2021. This is the outdoor rules update for 2021. I'm going to go over all the rules changes and some of the tournament condition changes as well. Okay, so this year for 2021, what's happened is it's just mostly clarifications and definitions. There's nothing spectacular that's going to sort of rock your world in the way that you play polo. We have had spectacular things in the past, but this year, no. Clarifications, definitions, that sort of thing. So what I've done with this video is kind of like what I did last year. I'm trying to format it so it's easy for you to remember. So I put everything into three categories. Changes that are going to affect you during play, changes that will only affect you not during play, and then tournament conditions. Generally, we don't do tournament conditions in the rules, but these are some exciting tournament conditions, so we'll go over them. Tournament conditions are basically options for the host tournament committee that they can choose, and these options, depending on what they pick and choose from the tournament conditions, can dramatically affect the way you play on the field. So they're worth going over. I'm going to give them a short mention here to keep this relatively quick. And then, of course, you just go to tournament conditions and as a host tournament committee, and you can review the specific ones that you want to use and go for it. Okay. If you're one of those folks who likes to write down the actual rule numbers and numbers of the tournament conditions that we're going over, I'll give them to you. And then I'm just going to go through them normal, because the brain's not going to remember which rule and which tournament condition was which, and so it gets a little sticky. So in working with your short-term and long-term memories, let's just do this. The rules changes happen to rules 2, 4, 6, 11, 14, 21, 33, 36, and 37. Tournament conditions, they're Roman numerals, but tournament conditions 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11 is what we're going to go over. Those are the ones we're going to go over. Okay? So let's get started. Rules changes that are going to affect you during play. The last 30 seconds of the last period now, there's only one way to end it. It ends with a goal or if time is up. Okay? We've already had that rule. It's Rule 14. There was an alternate version of Rule 14 called Alternate Rule 14. And that allowed a different type of ending in the last chukker of the last 30 seconds of the last chukker. Not anymore. The last 30 seconds of the last period can only end with a goal being scored or the time is up. Now, if a goal is scored in the last 30 seconds and it ties it, then of course you play till another goal is scored until time's up. Make sense? Okay, we're already used to that. Okay, if an umpire is going to call the advantage on a play, in other words, hold the whistle to see if the player that got fouled is better off without blowing the foul or not, the umpire must make that assessment just after the next play. So, in other words, you can't wait 2 or 3 plays or 4 plays and then call a foul that was 2 or 3 plays ago. We don't do that anyway. We never have. We've always done this. So what this is just a clarification. Okay, now, there is no longer a need to circle for a penalty shot between the umpire and the ball, because we give you 20 seconds to the penalty shot. So there's no way you can delay the game by taking a long circle, so we took it out. Okay, you don't have to do that anymore. We weren't doing it last year anyway because there was no need. Now it's in the rule. A misexecution by the defending team on a penalty 5 moves to a penalty 4. Okay, rules that are going to affect you not during play. High goal polo historically was 20 goals and above. Now, high goal polo is 16 goals and above. So it went from 20 to 16, the definition of high goal polo. You will need to get a Noxay helmet by January 1, 2021. So right now, you got to have one to play in a USPA event. If you're caught with a heel caulk violation, meaning your back shoes on your horse have a heel cleat or caulk that's longer than 1 inch from the shoe surface or the surface of foot of the horse to the end of the heel caulk has to be 1 inch. top of the shoe to the bottom of the shoe. It's specific in the rule, but if it's longer than 1 inch, which some players have been caught with it, it is now a forfeiture of the game, automatically done, because it's so dangerous to have a long heel cock. Okay? With that being said, you can go to Rule 6 and look at the specifics, but just know when your farrier comes to the barn, take out Rule 6 and give it to him and say, make me legal, and he or she will. This one's about yellow and red cards. If you get a yellow card that carries over to another game, to your next game, or a red card, obviously that one carries over, you cannot serve that in consolation games. You cannot serve that in the first round games of a subsidiary tournament. You cannot serve that in a shootout or a club event. This way, when you get your yellow card or red card that carries over, it's going to hurt a little more. Players were trying to get around this rule by serving it in a consolation game or a club game. Can't do it. No surprise there. They're sticking with the spirit of the rule. Now, teams, of course, through your captain, can question the score or the time clock up to 15 minutes after the final horn. Historically, when the final horn went, you could no longer do that. But if there was an issue, say in the last minute, and you didn't have time to question it, now you have time, the final horn will go, you have 15 minutes after the game to do that. The umpires have jurisdiction over the game 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after the game anyway, so it just follows naturally that you would be able to question time and score 15 minutes after the game. Now, once the final horn goes, if you don't question those two things and 15 minutes passes, you can never question them again. It's not protestable, it's not questioned, it's nothing. So that's the time you need to do it. Now we move on to tournament conditions. Tournament conditions are pretty exciting this year. What tournament conditions are, these are options for a host tournament committee to pick and choose what conditions they want to play their tournament under. The only thing is, obviously, the host tournament committee needs to make their choices and then make that information available to those who are entering the tournament. You kind of want to know what you're getting into. Okay, with that being said, let's go over them. Tournament condition 6. They use Roman numerals. Sorry, but it's still 6. You can no longer use shootouts to seed teams. Okay, so know that. Don't do that anymore. Tournament condition 8. Now, the third man, or the referee, can use footage from a dartfish camera on a tablet on the side of the field to review plays in real time. So what this is there'll be a tower with a camera on it run by Dartfish, and that will link up to a tablet or an iPad or something like that that the third man has. And if the third man needs to review a play, the game will be live on the iPad, and he can just, it'll be recorded as well as it's played, and he can or she can review the play right there fieldside if he or she needs a better look at it. This is done in other countries, and it's a huge success, so we suspect it'll be a huge success here. We're very excited about that one. Tournament condition 9. You could elect to have something called fair play throw-ins. Okay, so with all these tournament conditions, if you're going to elect them, just go to tournament conditions and read about them. To be specific, I'm just giving you a heads up here. But anyway, fair play throw-ins. If play stops and a team had the ball and they're going to be disadvantaged by the stopping of that play, then the umpire, by his or her discretion, can do a fair play throw-in. In other words, they give the ball back to the team that had the ball when the whistle blew. And they do it by having a throw-in where the team that is not awarded possession of the ball will be a horse length or so away from the throw-in, and the umpire will bowl the ball in or throw the ball in to the team that deserves possession, so to speak, and then they'll have 5 seconds to play the ball, and the defending team can't play it until they do, or until the 5 seconds elapse, which would be a delay of game call anyway, and so they get the ball back. So there's a lot of scenarios where this would be great, and it allows the umpires some flexibility, and they can blow whistles without worrying about disadvantaging, say, somebody that's on the way to goal. Something to think about. Okay, tournament condition 10. Host tournament committees can elect an alternative to the 3/4 rule in 4 to 6 go polo. And basically, the 3/4 rule is Rule 2, Rule 2D. And there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 sections to it. This adds a 5th section, and the 5th section is very specific. So you can have a player that's more than 3/4 of the team. But there's a little caveat to how many goals they can be in relation to the tournament upper limit, and how many goals the second highest player can be. I'm not going to go through it right here because it's very specific, but it's very easy. So if you want to elect that, in other words, you don't want to use a 3/4 rule in your tournament. This was a variance last year, so a lot of people know about this already. You don't have to get the variance. You just elect this tournament condition, and you're in. You're doing it. Okay. Not everyone has to agree. Just the host tournament committee needs to do this. Okay. It's different than a variance. Than that variance. Each variance is a unique flower. So I'm not even going to talk about them. Okay. But this is an alternative to the 3/4 rule. So if you don't want to play with the 3/4 rule, read this. You may want to elect this tournament condition 10. Pretty cool. Okay. Tournament condition 11. Live play improper blocking. Okay. What is this? I'll tell you to the best of my knowledge, because we're going to test it out this winter, and we'll see how it works. It's an interesting concept. It's the same concept that we have now as a rule, improper blocking. Okay, you cannot block a player who is taking the hitter on a dead ball. Okay, everybody knows that now. That's been a rule for a number of years now. But it's always a dead ball. Once the ball is in play, it doesn't matter. If the host tournament committee elects this tournament condition, then you will not be able to block a player or take out a player who is going to defend the hitter or the person that has the ball in live play. So we're working on it now to see how this is going to play out and how we're going to call it and what kind of situations we're going to use it for. But it's an interesting concept, and it's designed, of course, to keep the game flowing, to stop that, major slowdowns by forcing the hitter to be defended and forcing them to hit the ball. So let's see how it works. So there you go. There are 5 tournament conditions. One is a change in the tournament condition, and the other 4 are new elections to see how they work, and they're options. So if you don't like them, don't use them. But if you think they might work well, give it a go. We'd love to hear how it works. And that's it for 2021.